My wife's father gripped my hand at dinner and said, "Appreciate you keeping my daughter steady. Now someone deserving can step in." He gestured at my golden brother. As both families applauded. Have you ever walked into a room, looked at the faces of everyone you love, and realized they were all there to watch you burn? Because that's exactly what happened to me. I was supposed to be at a family dinner, but it turned out I was the main course, meticulously prepared for a public execution by my wife, my brother, and my own parents. They thought they had me cornered, ready to be discarded. But what they didn't know was that I had just pulled back the curtain on their entire twisted, elaborate scheme. It started innocently enough a few weeks before that infamous dinner. My wife, Cecilia, asked me to sign a financial disclosure form. She said her father needed it for some complex estate planning, consolidating family assets for tax optimization. You know, standard rich people nonsense. I found out later, of course, that it wasn't estate planning at all. It was a reconnaissance mission. They were sizing me up, trying to figure out what I had so they could plan their exit strategy. Funny thing is, we already had a prenup. Her family had insisted on it before we got married, desperate to protect their inheritance from me, to ensure I couldn't touch their Hartford family money if we divorced. I'd agreed instantly, had my own attorney review it. What Kenneth's lawyer, her father, was so focused on protecting their side, he inadvertently built me a fortress. Everything I'd built before the wedding stayed mine. I'm Julian, 35, an aviation safety director. I make good money, manage compliance, and incident investigations across 6 states. People's lives depend on my work, but to Cecilia's family, I was just the guy who wore Carhartt jackets and drove an 11-year-old Subaru Outback. The one who lived in a regular townhouse in Westchester, not some Greenwich mansion. I was the safe choice, the temporary solution. I didn't sign that form. I told Cecilia we'd discuss it later. She tensed up, said her father expected it by Friday. I told her father could wait. She dropped it, but I could feel it, deep in my gut. Something was wrong. She'd been distant for weeks, constantly on her phone, disappearing to her parents' house alone on weekends. Then, 2 weeks before the dinner, my sister-in-law Melissa called me. Melissa was always the reasonable one, 28, worked in advertising, actually earned her own money instead of living off daddy's accounts. "Julian," she said, her voice shaking. "I need to tell you something." My heart pounded. "What's up?" "There's a dinner planned," she choked out. "April 16th, Cecilia's father is hosting it. The whole family will be there." "Okay," I managed. "And your family, too," she added. "Your parents. Your brother." I went quiet. My brother, Stephen. The golden child. The one who could do no wrong. The one my parents had spent 35 years protecting, enabling, and prioritizing over me. We hadn't spoken in 2 years, not since I'd refused to loan him $40,000 to cover his gambling debts. Why would Stephen be there? I asked, my voice flat. Melissa was crying now. Because they're planning to announce that Cecilia is leaving you for Stephen. Your parents and her parents arranged it. They've been planning this for months. I sat in my office, staring out at the tarmac, watching planes take off and land. Precision. Protocol. Safety checks. Everything I dealt with every day required systems and verification. And I had married into a family that treated relationships like corporate mergers. "Tell me everything," I said. She talked for 40 minutes, her voice a hushed torrent. The group chats. The meticulous planning. The coordination between both families, setting this up since February. Everyone knew. Except me. "Julian," she said, "I have screenshots. Of the chats, the messages. Everything. I'll send them to you. I can't be part of this anymore. It's wrong." "Send them," I said, my voice dangerously calm. Within 10 minutes, my phone lit up. Group chat, family dinner. Created February 19th. Cecilia, Stephen, Kenneth, Diana, and my parents. I didn't just accept it. That's not how my brain works. Aviation safety teaches you to verify everything. Cross-check. Confirm. Never assume. I zoomed in on every screenshot. Checked the dates against my calendar. Matched the timeline to when Cecilia had started acting distant, when my parents had stopped calling, when Stephen had suddenly become unavailable, Every time I tried reaching out about family stuff, the writing quirk sold it. My father's formal punctuation, always a period. Never contractions. My mother's habit of signing off every message with a dash and her first initial. Stephen calling Cecilia Leah, his nickname for her since they were teenagers. Little details you can't fake. One message from my mother made my stomach drop. She'd written, "Julian has always been the understanding one. He won't make waves. That's just who he is. The understanding one." Code for the one who always folded. The one who kept the peace. The one who swallowed his pride so everyone else could be comfortable. I felt cold, like the office temperature had dropped 20 degrees. My hands were steady, but my chest felt like it was in a vice. I called Melissa back. "How did you get these?" "Cecilia showed me," she said quietly. She was venting, said she needed someone to talk to about the logistics. She forwarded me into the group chat temporarily, so I could help coordinate some of the planning. Then she removed me, but I'd already saved everything. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because this is wrong. This is so wrong. And you've been good to my sister, better than she deserves." I read through everything. Every message. Every plan. Every calculation about how to position this, how to make it look mutual, how to minimize my ability to push back. The charity gala happened the week before the dinner. Pediatric cancer research benefit at the Waldorf. Black tie. I'd donated $35,000. Cecilia knew about it. She'd been thrilled about the attention, the recognition, the social currency. We walked in together, but within 10 minutes, she drifted toward her parents. They were at a table with Stephen, my brother, my parents sitting right there with them, all of them laughing, posing for photos. I walked over. Cecilia's father, Kenneth, saw me coming. 61, corporate banking executive. The kind of guy who measures success in club memberships and vacation homes. "Julian," he said, shaking my hand a little too hard. "We were just taking some family photos." "I'm family," I said. "Of course," he waved vaguely. "But we wanted some shots of just the core group. You understand?" "No, I don't." My own mother, Caroline, stepped in. 58, former socialite, spent her whole life chasing status through her sons, except only one son counted. "Julian, don't make a scene. These photos are for the foundation newsletter. They want established families. Stephen just made senior analyst at Whitmore Capital. It's better optics. Better optics." My wife was posing next to my brother while our parents smiled and acted like I wasn't standing right there. Stephen looked at me, a smirk playing on his lips. 32 years old, 6 feet tall, designer suit, the confidence of someone who'd never faced real consequences for anything. "Hey, Jules. Good to see you. Cecilia was just telling me about your trip to Vermont last month." "Sounds nice." He called me Jules. Knew I hated it. Did it anyway because he knew no one would call him on it. I left. Went to the bar, ordered a drink, watched them from across the room. Watched Cecilia laugh at something Stephen said. Watched Kenneth pat Stephen's shoulder. Watched my own father, Gerald, 63, retired attorney, nod along to whatever story Stephen was telling. Melissa found me 20 minutes later. "I'm sorry," she said. "For what?" "For all of it. I didn't know about the photos until tonight. Mom planned it with your parents last week." "Great. Julian, you need to prepare yourself. The dinner is in 6 days. They're going to do it publicly. They want witnesses. They want it to feel official." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you've been good to my sister. You've been good to our family. And this is wrong. This is so wrong." I finished my drink, watched Cecilia pose for another photo. She was glowing, happy, more animated than I'd seen her in months. "She wants this," I said, the words tasting like ash. Melissa looked at her shoes. "Yeah, she does." The next day, I was in my home office when I heard voices from the bedroom. Cecilia's door was closed, but the walls were thin. She was on the phone. "No, Mom. I'll say exactly what we rehearsed. I want what's best for my future." That's the line. It sounds mature. It sounds like I'm making a rational decision. Silence while she listened. "Of course, I'm sure Stephen is going places. He's got the Whitmore position. He's got the connections. He's got the family name everyone respects. Julian is stable, But stability isn't a future. Stability is just maintenance. More silence. I know. I know it's been 8 years, but that's exactly why we need to do this now before more time passes. Before I'm 40 and stuck in Westchester in a townhouse talking about aviation regulations at dinner parties. I can't go back to being the one everyone pities. I stood there in the hallway, recording every word on my phone. Voice memo app, timestamped. April 10th, 2:15 p.m. She kept talking. Steven understands what I need. We've been talking for months. He gets it. He gets that marriage is about building something impressive, something people notice. Julian is good at his job, but nobody cares about aviation safety. Nobody asks about it at parties. Nobody respects it the way they respect finance. I saved the recording, backed it up to 3 different cloud accounts, sent a copy to my personal attorney, Rebecca Santos, partner at Dalton and Associates, 15 years experience in family law. I'd kept her on retainer since the gala. Had a feeling I'd need her. Rebecca called me an hour later. Julian, this is damaging. Combined with what your sister-in-law sent you, you have serious documentation here. Yeah, I understand. If they go through with this dinner the way she described, you need to document everything. Record it if possible. Then we respond appropriately. Good. Do you want my advice? Always let them do it, she said. Let them perform their ceremony. Then we handle it properly. The dinner was at the boathouse in Central Park. Private dining room, overlooking the water. Kenneth had reserved it for 12 people, both families, a few close relatives, everyone who mattered in their immediate circles. I showed up in my usual clothes, jeans, a button-down shirt. Cecilia had asked me to wear a suit. I'd said no. She didn't push it. Probably thought it didn't matter what I wore. I walked into the dining room, and the whole setup felt staged. Long table, name cards. Steven sitting across from Kenneth, my parents next to Cecilia's parents. Everyone else arranged like an audience. My name card was at the far end, furthest from the center. I sat down, didn't say anything. The table was doing that forced conversation thing where everyone talks at you, but nobody's actually listening. Cecilia's aunt asked about my work. So, Julian, you still doing that airport thing? Aviation safety, yeah. Oh, that's nice. She'd already turned to someone else before I finished the sentence. Steven leaned across the table, a big, too friendly smile. Jules, glad you could make it. We should catch up more often. You know, family. Sure. Family. Kenneth kept checking his watch. Diana kept smoothing the tablecloth. Cecilia was glued to her phone. Typing, deleting, typing again. She wouldn't look at me, kept her eyes on the screen like it was the most important thing in the world. My father tried asking about my car. Still driving that Subaru? Yeah. He nodded. Said nothing else, just nodded and went back to his bread. The whole room felt like a loaded gun. Everyone waiting for something. The small talk was just filler. Just noise to pass the time until whatever was supposed to happen actually happened. I pulled out my phone, opened the voice recorder, and set it on the table. A small red light glowed, recording. Kenneth stood up, tapped his wine glass. Everyone went quiet. Thank you all for coming tonight. This dinner is about family, about legacy, about making difficult decisions with grace and maturity. He looked right at me. Julian, you've been part of this family for 8 years. You've been a stable presence in Cecilia's life, a placeholder during a transitional period while she figured out what she really needed. But Cecilia deserves more than stability, he continued. She deserves partnership with someone who shares her vision, her values, her understanding of what family means. My father, Gerald, nodded. Actually nodded along like he was at a board meeting. Kenneth continued. Steven has proven himself. Senior analyst at Whitmore Capital, managing significant portfolios. Building something meaningful. Building something that will last. Everyone clapped. Actual applause. My own mother started it. I sat there with my hands folded, letting the applause die down. Steven stood up. Gave a little speech about how he'd always cared about Cecilia, how he'd watched from a distance for years, how he'd finally reached a point in his career where he could offer her the life she deserved. Cecilia was crying, happy tears, dabbing at her eyes with her napkin. I sat there watching my marriage dissolve in front of a dozen witnesses who seemed thrilled about it. Kenneth sat down, smoothed his tie. It's an overdue conversation, Julian. You're a nice guy. Really. We all like you, but nice doesn't pay for private schools. Nice doesn't buy vacation homes. Nice doesn't secure a future. We've been married 8 years, I said. And you've been struggling for 8 years. Kenneth's voice was gentle now, pitying. Still renting that townhouse in Westchester. Still driving that 11-year-old Subaru. Still working at, what is it? Aviation something? Aviation Safety Director. Northeast Regional Authority. Right. He said it like it was janitor. Look, Julian, we appreciate what you've done. You stepped up when Stephen wasn't ready. You gave Cecilia stability when she needed it. But now it's time for her to have more than just stability. Stephen leaned forward. No offense, man, but Cecilia and I have history. Real chemistry. We grew up together. We understand each other. Kenneth looked at me. Julian, we've prepared separation paperwork. Clean. Fair. Cecilia keeps her personal assets. You keep yours. We'll cover the legal fees. Make this as painless as possible. We think it's best if you move out by the end of the month, he added. Give Cecilia space to process this transition. My mother spoke up. We've already talked to Stephen about this, Julian. He's been very mature about the situation. Very understanding. We think this is what's best for everyone. Very understanding. My brother was taking my wife, and my mother thought he deserved praise for handling it maturely. Cecilia finally looked at me. Julian, I want you to know this isn't about you failing. You didn't fail. You were exactly what I needed 8 years ago, but I need something different now. What do you need? Someone impressive. Someone people respect. Someone who makes me proud when I introduce him. And I don't make you proud? You make me comfortable. That's not the same thing. I stood up. Everyone went tense, like they'd been waiting for me to explode, to shout, to make a scene they could use against me later. I pulled out my phone, opened my photos, and turned it toward Kenneth. What is this? He asked, his face suddenly confused. Screenshots from the group chat, I said, my voice low and steady. The one Melissa sent me. Created February 19th. His face went white. I scrolled, started reading messages out loud. February 22nd. Kenneth writes, we need to position this as mutual, as Cecilia outgrowing the relationship naturally. February 27th, Diana writes, Stephen needs to be fully established first. No room for Julian to claim Stephen isn't ready. March 3rd, my father writes, Julian will be upset, but he'll accept it. He always accepts things. He's not a fighter. I kept scrolling. March 10th, Cecilia writes, I've been setting up the financial separation quietly, moving my personal accounts, establishing credit independently. When we announce, I want to be able to leave immediately. March 15th, Stephen writes, should I reach out to Julian beforehand or just let it happen at dinner? March 16th, my mother writes, let it happen at dinner. Cleaner that way. Less room for him to negotiate. The room was dead silent. I pulled up another screenshot. Different group chat. This one called Transition Logistics. This one's interesting, I said. Let me read a few highlights. Cecilia writes, if Julian makes this difficult, we say he was controlling, that he isolated me from family. Melissa writes, I don't think we should do that. Cecilia writes, it's not lying. It's reframing. He did prioritize his work. That's a form of control. I looked at Melissa. She was staring at her plate. She'd already apologized to me privately, sent me everything. She wasn't the enemy here. And then there's this one, I said. From Stephen to Cecilia. Dated March 25th, Stephen writes, once this is done, I'm moving into the townhouse with you, right? I can't afford rent, and the Whitmore Capital position isn't as high-paying as I made it sound. The table erupted. Kenneth started shouting. My father stood up. Stephen looked like he'd been hit. I kept going. Cecilia writes back, wait, you lied about the salary? Stephen writes, I exaggerated. Senior analyst sounds better than junior analyst, and the portfolio numbers are team totals, not individual. But it doesn't matter. Your dad said he'd help us financially. That's the whole point. Kenneth's face went purple. I pulled out a folder. Set it on the table. Divorce papers filed this morning. My lawyer has everything documented. Cecilia stood up. How did you get those? Your sister sent them to me. She couldn't stomach what you were planning. I pulled up my banking app, showed them the balance. $1.8 million. Stephen's jaw dropped. I'd been investing quietly for years. I wasn't remotely broke. Kenneth's face had gone gray. Diana actually gasped. I kept it quiet because Cecilia asked me to. I looked at my wife. Remember 2 years into our marriage, you said your family was judgmental? Said they'd treat me differently if they knew about money? Said it was better if they just thought we were normal middle-class people. I paused. Guess you were right about that. You've been lying to us? Kenneth sputtered. For 8 years. No. You never asked. You assumed. I wore normal clothes, drove a normal car, lived in a normal place. You filled in the rest with your own prejudices. I pulled out another document. Stephen's credit report. I showed them the score, 492. I showed them the debts, over $100,000. Credit cards, personal loans, defaulted car lease. And you thought he was going places? I said to Cecilia. Kenneth tried again. Julian, this doesn't have to be adversarial. You tried to trade my wife to my brother like she was a corporate asset. You involved my parents. You planned this for months. You created group chats to coordinate my humiliation. I picked up my folder. My attorney will contact you. She's very good at these kinds of cases. I looked at Stephen. Stay away from me. If you contact me, show up at my workplace, come near my property, there will be consequences. Stephen started to speak. I cut him off. Walked out. Didn't look back. Got in my Subaru. Sat there for 10 minutes with my hands shaking, just breathing, processing what had just happened. Then I drove to the Marriott Marquis in Times Square. Had a suite booked, king bed, room service. My phone started ringing immediately. Cecilia. Kenneth. My parents. Stephen. Numbers I didn't recognize. I blocked all of them. Every single number. Blocked their emails. Blocked their social media. Called Rebecca. How'd it go? She asked. Exactly like you said it would. Good. We'll handle everything properly from here. Rebecca filed everything on Monday. The documentation was thorough. All the screenshots Melissa had sent, all the recordings, the timeline of planning, the coordinated effort between both families. It took weeks of back and forth, court dates got pushed. Rebecca handled most of it while I tried to keep working. Tried being the key word. Work was the same. My performance was fine. But everything else felt off. I stopped sleeping right. Not dramatic, just waking up at 3 a.m. and staring at the ceiling for an hour. Brain running through scenarios. What if they showed up? What if they tried something else? What if I'd missed something in the documentation? Stopped eating breakfast. Coffee was enough. Lunch was whatever I could grab without thinking about it. Lost 8 pounds in 3 weeks without trying. Started locking my hotel room door twice. Checking it before bed. Checking it again an hour later, because I couldn't remember if I'd actually locked it or just thought about locking it. Stopped going to my usual places. The coffee shop near the office, the running trail I'd used for 5 years, anywhere that felt predictable, anywhere they might know to look. Put my phone on silent. The vibration was making me jumpy. Every buzz felt like another attack. Another message. Another attempt. Rebecca noticed. Asked if I was okay. I said yeah. She didn't believe me, but she didn't push it. My phone was still blowing up from numbers I hadn't blocked yet. They started trying other methods. Cecilia showed up at my workplace on Tuesday. Security called me. There's a woman in the lobby claiming to be your wife. Says it's an emergency. Tell her I'm unavailable. If she returns, call the police for trespassing. She came back Wednesday. Security escorted her out, told her next time would involve arrest. Thursday morning, I got an email from my boss, Garrett. 51, former investigator, no-nonsense guy who'd been running the division for 12 years. Julian, I received a concerning call from someone claiming to be your father-in-law. Suggested you were under extreme stress. Implied you might be unstable. Want to tell me what's going on? I forwarded him everything. The screenshots, the recordings, the timeline, the legal documentation. He called me 10 minutes later. This is legitimately insane. Your own parents were in on this. Front row seats. I'm putting a security flag on your file. If anyone calls about you, I'm referring them to legal. And for what it's worth, your performance reviews are flawless. If you need time off, take it. Otherwise, business as usual. I kept working, stayed focused, didn't let it touch my job performance. Professional separation. One of the first things you learn in aviation safety. Over the next 2 weeks, they escalated. My parents tried calling my office directly. Kenneth sent emails through business contacts. Cecilia's cousin posted vague accusations on social media. Rebecca sent a cease and desist. Post deleted within hours. Kenneth filed complaints with Federal Aviation Oversight. Claimed I had conflicts of interest. Claimed I was misusing my position. That backfired. The Oversight Board reviewed everything. Interviewed me. Reviewed my documentation. Concluded Kenneth had filed false reports. Referred him for investigation. Rebecca kept me updated. They're panicking. Kenneth's firm is distancing from him. The false report to federal authorities is serious. Saturday morning, Stephen showed up at my hotel. Security called my room. Sir, there's a man here claiming to be your brother. He's insisting he needs to speak with you urgently. Tell him to leave. He's refusing. He's getting agitated. I came down to the lobby. Stephen was there in jeans and a wrinkled shirt, looked like he hadn't slept. Jules, we need to talk. No, we don't. 5 minutes, please. You have 2 minutes. Then I'm calling the police. He looked around. The lobby was busy. Weekend crowd. This lawsuit is going to devastate everyone, Stephen said. Mom and Dad can't afford this. They'll lose everything. Should have thought about that before. I didn't orchestrate anything. I just went along with it. You texted Cecilia for months. You lied about your job. You planned to move into my house. You participated in group chats about how to handle me. That's orchestration. I made mistakes. I admit that. But suing Mom and Dad, they're your parents. They clapped when Kenneth called me a placeholder. They sat at that table and validated every word. They chose you again. If you don't drop this, I'll make your life miserable. Is that a threat? It's a promise. I pulled out my phone, started recording. Say that again. He realized what I was doing. Lunged for my phone. Hotel security grabbed him before he got close. Sir, you need to leave, one of them said. Stephen was shouting now. You think you're better than me? You think your money makes you better. Security escorted him out. I went back to my room, sent the video to Rebecca. She called immediately. That's harassment. That's a threat. File a police report now. I filed it that afternoon. Stephen was served with a restraining order a few days later. 500-foot minimum distance, no contact. Violation would result in arrest. That same week, someone leaked my personal information online. Home address, phone number, email. Posted to some forum with vague accusations about corruption. Rebecca got it removed and added cyber harassment to the case. The following week, I got a call from HR. Angela, our director, wanted to meet. Julian, I need you to come to my office. We've received some allegations. What kind? I'd prefer to discuss in person. I went to her office. She had a file on her desk. We received communication from someone claiming you've been misusing company resources, accessing confidential files, using your position for personal investigations. I sat down. Show me. She turned the printouts toward me. The email claimed I'd used work systems to pull background checks on family members, violated privacy policies, all lies. I pulled out my phone, showed her my personal account logs. Every search was from my personal laptop, using services I paid for myself. Background checks through private companies, phone records through our family account that I owned. I showed her everything. Timestamps. Payment receipts. Angela reviewed it carefully. This is thorough. I'm director of aviation safety. Documentation is what I do. Who do you think sent this? My father-in-law or my brother? They're trying to damage my credibility. She made notes. I'll forward this to legal. If this is retaliation, it's serious. I'm putting a protection flag on your file. Thank you. By late May, the cracks were showing publicly. Their whole social circle knew about everything. Word spread fast. People got wind of the details. Melissa reached out to apologize privately. Said she'd been horrified by everything that happened. She kept me updated occasionally. Kenneth resigned from the club. She texted too many people asking questions. Diana stopped going to her charity meetings. Nobody's accepting their invitations anymore. And Cecilia, she's living with them. The townhouse lease ended, and she couldn't afford to renew it. She's working full-time now. First job in 8 years, paralegal, makes $48,000 a year. And Stephen, Melissa sent a link. Stephen had left Whitmore Capital, now listed as financial consultant, which means unemployed. I replied, yeah, he got fired. Gambling on company time. Terminated for cause. No severance. He's living with your parents. His credit is too damaged for apartment approval. Settlement offers started coming. Kenneth offered $200,000 initially. Rebecca told him to revise. He revised to $400,000. We declined. Your parents are trying to settle too, Rebecca told me. Offering $150,000. They'd have to mortgage the house. It dragged. Motions, delays, paperwork. But as discovery continued, the offers climbed. Kenneth eventually hit $600,000. My parents stayed at $150,000 with the mortgage requirement. Cecilia offered her BMW and $8,000 cash, all she had. Cecilia was countersuing, claiming I'd stolen marital assets, hidden money, committed fraud. Rebecca laughed when she saw it. This is desperation. She signed a prenup. This will get dismissed. It got dismissed 3 weeks later. Judge ruled the prenup was valid. I disclosed everything required. Cecilia's lack of curiosity about finances during marriage wasn't fraud. Mid-July, Stephen violated the restraining order again. I was at my new house in Hudson Valley. Saturday morning, coffee on the back deck. Heard a car in the driveway. Stephen getting out of an old Honda, probably borrowed. He walked up to the deck. I pulled out my phone, started recording. You need to leave, I said. You're violating a court order. I just want to talk. You have 30 seconds before I call the police. Julian, please. This is devastating everyone. Mom and Dad are going to lose their house. Kenneth is broke. Cecilia is miserable. Can't you just let it go? No. We're family. You helped steal my wife. You participated in planning my public humiliation. You lied to make yourself look better. You threatened me. You violated a restraining order. What part of that is family? I called the police. He started backing toward his car, but police arrived a few minutes later. They arrested him on my front lawn. Handcuffed him, read him his rights. Violation of restraining order, trespassing. He spent the night in county jail. Made bail the next morning. Court date set for August. My father called. Left a voicemail. Julian, it's Dad. I know you don't want to talk, but Stephen is under psychiatric observation. Your mother is beside herself. He's still your brother. I didn't call back. My mother left another voicemail 2 days later. This one angry. I hope you're proud of yourself. Your brother is in the hospital because of you. You've devastated this family over what? Pride? Because your feelings were hurt? You're cruel. I don't even recognize you anymore. I saved the voicemail. Sent it to Rebecca. Stephen was convicted in mid-August. Judge ruled the psychiatric hold didn't excuse willful violation of a clear court order. Sentenced to 90 days plus fines. My mother's voicemail got played in court. Judge noted it demonstrated continued harassment and validated the necessity of the restraining order. Trial was scheduled for early September, but 2 weeks before, everyone started trying to settle seriously. Kenneth's final offer was $600,000. Rebecca advised taking it. That's substantial damages. You're avoiding a trial, avoiding more stress. What about my parents? Still offering $150,000. They'd mortgage the house. And Cecilia? Her car and $8,000. That's all she has. And Stephen. He has nothing. But the judgment follows him forever. Wrecks his credit. Shows up on background checks. I thought about it for 3 days. About whether the money was worth it, about what I actually wanted. Then I accepted all of it. Kenneth's $600,000. My parents' $150,000. Cecilia's car and $8,000. Stephen's judgment. The settlement was finalized on September 8th. Kenneth paid from retirement accounts. 30 years of savings gone. My parents took a second mortgage to cover their share. They'd be paying it off for the rest of their lives. Cecilia signed over her BMW. I sold it. Stephen's judgment stood. A $100,000 he'd never pay, but it would wreck his credit for another decade. Follow him on background checks. Haunt every financial decision. The divorce from Cecilia was finalized the same day, September 8, 2024. The prenup held. The marital estate was tiny. Joint checking with $16,000. She got half. She walked away from 8 years with $16,000 total. I kept everything I'd built. I didn't hear from any of them for months. They stopped trying to contact me directly. I focused on work. Garrett promoted me to regional director in October. Solid raise, more responsibility, more impact. Focused on the house. Renovated the master bathroom. Added a home office. Built a deck extension. Made it mine. Started running again. Joined a hiking group. Made new friends who knew nothing about any of it. Started dating in November. Nothing serious, just getting back out there, remembering what it felt like to meet people without baggage. I met someone at a professional conference in November, an aviation and infrastructure symposium. She was presenting on structural engineering. 36, smart, independent, had her own career, own money, own life. We started talking about building codes and safety regulations. Ended up talking for 3 hours about everything else, books, travel, philosophy, life. She didn't care about my car or my clothes or my bank account. Cared about ideas, values, character. We took it slow. No pressure. No expectations except honesty and respect. By December, we were seeing each other regularly. By March, exclusive. By summer, talking about moving in together. I got a wedding invitation in December. Stephen and Cecilia, engagement celebration. December 20th, the Boathouse. Same restaurant where they'd called me a placeholder. I showed it to Rebecca. She laughed. Are they serious? Apparently. Are you going? No. I'm done with them. Melissa sent me a message 2 days before the event. Julian, I know you have no reason to trust me, but this dinner isn't what they're telling everyone. Kenneth is announcing bankruptcy. He lost everything. Diana is leaving him. She filed for divorce last week. Stephen and Cecilia are pretending to get engaged to save face, to make it look like something good came from all this, but it's a lie. They're broke. They're desperate. I read it 3 times. Didn't respond. Melissa sent another message the day after. Only a few people showed up. Kenneth tried to give a speech about new beginnings. Started crying halfway through. Diana left during appetizers. Stephen got drunk and started arguing with Cecilia about money. Someone recorded it. They're done. I didn't respond. I kept Melissa's number unblocked because she'd been honest with me from the start. She'd sent me the screenshots that saved me. But I didn't need updates anymore. My partner and I got married in April. Small ceremony at City Hall. Just us and 2 witnesses. No family, no drama, no expectations except the ones we set for ourselves. Bought a house together in the Catskills that summer. Both our names on the deed. Joint finances, equal partnership. She insisted on combining everything. Said marriage was a team sport. She made good money from her engineering firm, wanted to contribute equally, wanted to be a partner. We weren't billionaires, but we were comfortable. More importantly, we were happy. Aside from Melissa's occasional updates, my old family never reached out again. No more drama, no more attempts. My partner and I built something real. The night they tried to replace me, I chose myself. That choice bought me everything I needed. Now, a few clarifications, because I can already predict the comments. No, I'm not posting screenshots or the audio. Part of the settlement includes confidentiality language. And even without that, the chats include people who weren't driving this, random relatives who got added and just reacted. I'm not interested in turning this into a doxing festival or giving anyone a reason to claim I'm harassing them. Also, Melissa didn't hack anything. Cecilia looped her into the planning chats while venting and asking for help with logistics, then removed her. Melissa saved what she saw before she got kicked out. That's it. No spy stuff. A lot of people will ask why I didn't confront Cecilia immediately. 2 reasons. First, I needed to verify what I had. Screenshots are easy to dismiss if you don't cross-check dates and context, and I wasn't about to blow up my own life based on something I hadn't confirmed. Second, I wanted to see if anyone would back out once it came time to do this in real life, face-to-face, with actual consequences. Nobody did. If anything, they doubled down. And for the "why didn't you just leave quietly" crowd? Because the plan wasn't to leave quietly. The plan was to publicly frame me as a temporary stepping stone and then rewrite the story afterward if I resisted. That's why the rehearsed lines mattered. That's why the group chat mattered. I wasn't going to give them a clean narrative while I got shoved out the door. Last thing, I'm not looking for advice on reconciliation. There isn't going to be reconciliation. I'm not keeping the door open. I'm just posting now because it's over, and I can finally talk about it without worrying that every sentence will end up as an exhibit. So, tell me, after hearing all this, what would you have done in my place? Have you ever had to choose yourself over people you once considered family? I really want to know what you think.